Take me up inside.
All right, we are live with the Survivor UConn post show. Hello, everyone. Excited to talk about another good episode tonight. As always, my name is Ryan. I am the host of Survivor UConn, and we'll go clockwise and just quick reintroduction. We've all been here, but shout
We've
out.
all been here. I'm here every time. I'm Ethan. I help executive produce everything, and I really like to talk about it all, so I get to come around here and do that. So that's what I'm here for.
I'm CJ. I'm from UConn, Survivor UConn Season 1, and I'm excited to be back and talk about another great episode.
And I am Zubin, also from Year of the Husky, grad student to be. And I am also very happy to be back in the saddle.
There you go.
All right, thank you guys. Tonight we got some great stuff to talk about. Great episode. We will have interviews with both last episode's Boots, Hope, and Robbie tonight. I think Hope will be on a bit, and Robbie will be on in like half hour or so because he's out right now, but he should stop in. So we'll chat with Hope a little as soon as she comes by. But start things off. Maybe we can chat a little about the episode, and hopefully I'll see when Hope joins the bottom. But let's get started. So, begin this episode. Matt is chatting a little, or Matt and Bijan are interjecting, and Bijan's like, Matt knew Robbie would be voted out, but Matt chose to stick with Robbie, vote with the Moynihan numbers, what's left of them, obviously, and he voted for, I believe it was Heidi for that vote, and obviously she doesn't go home, but Matt knows that, and he just voted for her anyway. And Bijan's like, I don't really like that because Matt just comes off as the good guy. He voted with his pal Robbie, and Matt knows either way it's not going to matter. So do you think Matt should have gone for the harsher play to just vote Robbie out and present himself as one of the majority numbers, even though it doesn't matter either way? Or do you think it was good for him to just vote with Robbie, keep the jury management and all that?
I think that it might not have been his best move, because it's always good to jury manage. If you can win jury votes, you should always try to. But I don't think he was necessarily going to lose Robbie's jury vote if he voted him out there, because Robbie knows he's a massive target. Matt knows he's a massive target, and if it's not Robbie, it's Matt. So Matt should put his vote on Robbie there, and he can explain that away at Final Tribal. Robbie will be gone long enough for him to get over it. So I think it puts him in a little bit of hot water here with Bijan, and see if everyone else catches on to it. But I don't know. I would have voted Robbie to save my own ass, but I don't think it's going to kill him.
Yeah, I think it was a fine move. I think like everyone kind of knows Matt's like a target already. So like I don't think it really would have done much to like vote with the majority. Like I don't think it would really take the target much off his back. So like I think that part was fine. Now like I agree with Ethan. Like I don't think if he voted Robbie out, like he automatically loses Robbie's jury vote. But I don't think it would really take target off his back to vote with the majority here.
It may have been a decent long-term move to vote with Robbie. However, I don't know if it was the best short-term move because, again, the long-term isn't going to mean a damn thing if you're not there in the short term.
Yeah,
so it might have alienated him enough to swing the vote to him, and it won't matter how good the jury feels about him if he's on the jury too.
It's true.
Absolutely. And so right on time, we have our first guest for the night here. I would like to introduce Hope. Hope, you're live right now. How are you doing tonight?
No, I'm pretty good. I just watched the episode. I watched like half of this one, and then I watched the one where I got voted out because I actually hadn't seen that one. I haven't seen any of them. I started watching them. And And then I watched a little bit of the first one. I was like kind of desperately, like quickly watching as many as possible. And now I'm going to have to like sit down and just watch all of them one by one, like in order, because they're pretty funny. And it's fun to see confessionals for other people because, you know, they talk about you. So,
yeah, absolutely. It's a great experience, and it's cool to see what other people thought of you and how other people's perspective on the game, even though you had one viewpoint of it throughout it. But thanks for coming on. I just have like a few quick questions. I know you're busy and you got to go, but I just wanted to ask, what was this experience like as a whole for you? Like, how would you describe it?
It was pretty fun. I definitely enjoyed it. I'm glad I did it freshman year, and definitely got me out in college, like doing fun things that are definitely really random, like walking around in a graveyard in the middle of the night, or like, I don't know. Yeah. The challenges were really fun. I wouldn't say it really got me into the show because I didn't watch the show that much before or after. But now every time I hear about the show, I have that instant connection where I'm like, oh yeah, like I did that. So definitely like part of it. So I'm glad I did it. It was pretty fun.
We're very glad you did it too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely great as an underclassman when you're not being swamped. It's a cute little thing. When you get junior and higher, it becomes more of a pain sometimes. But it's always a good time. I wanted to ask, we saw in the merge episode, at least it was shown, that you, Kira, and Heidi, you guys met up and talked for a bit about working together, kind of like a girls' alliance minus the rowers and Maddie and Carolina. So then obviously right after that, Kira gets voted out. So that next round, you're in a tough spot. Did you ever go to Heidi during that round to try and like utilize that connection you guys had formed, or did you think that was just like cut off after she hadn't voted with you?
Ooh, I don't remember watching the episode now and seeing like the NATO alliance or like the alliance of the five. Like I definitely did not suspect. Like I like looking like it was 2 years ago, but I definitely don't think I suspected that was happening at all. But I do remember being like, oh shit, like, because we had that meeting. It was like, of course, it was like we had that meeting at Whitney, and then suddenly just both of us like died. Like we were just out. So it was like, it was like, of course. It was like, darn it. So yeah, I don't know. I actually don't know if I ever discussed with Heidi about that. I don't know. I don't remember. But maybe at that point I was just because like it was kind of predictable that I was gonna be on my way out. So I think I was probably just too afraid to really talk to anyone because I was just like, oh, I'm going, like it's gonna happen.
We have a question in the chat from our own Eric. Not Heidi. Hope, how did you eat 2 habaneros? All my homies hate habaneros. Yeah, Eric had a rough time with the habaneros in season 1. You killed it. How'd you do it, Hope?
Yeah, I just watched that part. I just watched the food challenge like half an hour ago. Just like see your own pain like on the screen is so funny. And then like watching Bijan talk about it where he was like, yeah, and then this girl just put both of them in her mouth at the same time. Like, why did you do that? I was like, it was that terrible. But it's definitely pretty bad because I'm not really good at spicy food. Like I'll eat like spicy nacho Doritos to like challenge myself. So, you know, that was like, pretty hard.
Those are the best Dorito.
Yeah, come on.
That's okay though. It was so funny to me, Hope, because after you ate those, and then you're like, and we gave you the milk, and you're just like, it's not working. And then I follow you outside, and you're just scooping snow into your mouth. You came back with just a mountain filled up of your cup.
Yeah, and then Tatiana was like, you poor girl. I was like, oh my God, I'm getting her sympathy. I think Bijan came. I don't know if that made it into the video. I thought we both went outside and we were eating this.
Bijan followed your example. He was like, I don't want to eat snow on my own. But once you did, he was okay with it.
Let's go with a pretty high number, huh?
Yeah,
they're crazy.
Yeah.
I was impressed when you just threw both in at once and we're just like,
you gotta win. That was like the thing. I was like, I can't do the other challenges, but I was excited for the food one, so I was like, I better live up to it and at least do one thing. Yeah,
It
that
worked
was
out.
really fun. I have to watch. Did they do the peppers in every season? I should watch the other seasons then.
Season 1 we did do the habaneros, yes.
That's so
And
funny.
that's why Eric's commenting. He puked, so it didn't go as well for him. But
I think that was the milk round.
yeah, he drank a lot of milk after that. You guys didn't really have as
He had
easy
the
access
milk?
to milk.
Yeah, I feel
They
like
were
the
right.
milk
They
is
were
like
right next
something-
to South, and it was during the day, so I think they just went to the dining hall and got some milk.
It just him and Doug stole a gallon of milk.
That's so funny.
Hope, I want to ask, what was your biggest mistake in this game? Do you think? Maybe to go along with that, do you think it was out of your hands once Matt and Robbie won immunity during the round you went home?
Yeah, I mean, looking back on it, I think a lot of things were kind of out of my hands because I played kind of passively. So, yeah, I don't know, and I also relied on like being in the winning tribe every time. So then I was just like, oh, this is fine. So yeah,
It doesn't work that way at the merge.
yeah, that was a fair point. And I guess biggest mistake probably would be like not researching Survivor in any way, shape, or form. Like that probably would have helped me at least like 1% to like actually look up what Survivor is about. So even though like as a team, I remember we watched it a few times, so it was pretty fun. But if I had a redo, I would probably do my research a little bit more beforehand.
Why do you think it was you that got targeted over Barrett? Because you guys were both on the outs of that in that vote. Why do you think it was you?
Ooh, that's a good point because the votes weren't really split between me and Barrett. They were split between me and Maddie. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I don't remember if Barrett had any other secret like alliances that have been showed in the episodes. Like the one that I just watched. I don't think Barrett was really scheming with anyone. I don't really know.
He
Maybe
wasn't.
Barrett.
No, not really.
Really?
I don't know. Maybe everyone just kind of assumed that like he's just like even I'll see in some of the comments they're like, oh, like Barrett's so oblivious. So maybe we're just like we gotta just keep him. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
I think I watched it. I was like, I want Barrett to win. Like I had seen that, and then I said, I don't know. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I think from my perspective at the time, it was like, who maybe is a little more likable or like connected or like, I don't know. I don't know if there was like a great reason for it being you over Barrett. I think Heidi would have preferred you in, but Bijan preferred like Barrett, and Bijan Alex had a little more strategic control at the time. But yeah. Do you guys have anything else? I think those are my main questions for Hope here. All right. Well, Hope, absolutely. Thank you for stopping by for a few minutes. It was great to hear from you. I hope you're doing well. If you want to stick around for a little, you can, but I think you have to go, so that's perfectly fine. But hope you're doing well, and appreciate you chatting with us for a bit.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll definitely watch the other episodes, and I'll be back. The next one.
I know you're in the jury. You're not. You get to be a say at the whole end of everything. You get to be part of the game.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair. That's a good point. Yeah, I'll have to watch all the other ones. Yeah, nice to see you guys.
Always a pleasure.
Nice to see you, Hope. Have a great night. Bye. All right, that was Hope. We'll have a chat with Robbie a bit later, but great to hear from her and her perspective a little. Yeah, absolutely. So let's get right back into things, though. So I think we talked about like the main point from before the challenge. So we're gonna go right into this challenge. So this always a great challenge, touchy subjects. I think it was even better this season. I loved how Cooper, our editor, interlaced some of the confessionals and explanations for people's answers. It was a lot of fun. So touchy subjects challenge. We'll go through the answers. I just want to hear your guys' perspectives on some of these. So, first question: best at surviving on a deserted island. We have a Matt answer, some Matt and Bear answers. That was pretty much what everyone said, and majority answer ended up being Matt. Do you think that falls along the lines of what we've seen so far in this game?
That's who I voted as I was looking at the questions when we did these. I was like, this is who I think they'll pick. So yeah, I agree with that one. Matt, he'd befriend the animals. I don't know. He'd make them love him too.
I also think it goes like with the perceived threat of Matt. Like I think that's another reason why everyone voted him is just because like, oh, if you could survive on an island, maybe he can play actual survivors. So maybe that played into it too.
Yeah, because I'm thinking
that's a good point.
They're thinking that he's a good player, so yeah, he could go on an island and maybe actually survive. Maybe they'd be the one they may be looking up to him.
I would be.
So our next question is the biggest liar, and that one ends up being Bijan. So Bijan's like, "Yo, I voted for myself," and everyone knows I'm the biggest liar. I am the biggest liar, but I think from Bijan's perspective, it seemed like his allies don't really think of this in a bad light. He said, Heidi went to him after. He was like, "I know you're not lying to me," and he's like, I don't know about that, but do you think this was a bad answer for Bijan to get, or do you think he really won't get the flack from this that maybe one would expect?
Yes and no, because on the other hand, on one hand, a lot of people do seem to respect him for it, but he is really good at lying, and they're going to remember that later on. And that later on could bite him in the ass.
Well, I don't think it's a great answer. Like you don't want to see your name come up for that, but he's doing a very nice job at downplaying it or whatever. Like you were grilling him, Ryan, and he was deflecting everything. So
that's my job.
Yeah, right. I think it's definitely a label you do not want. I think a healthy dose of self-awareness is very important in Survivor, though. So Bijan knowing that people are going to put him for that, props to him for knowing what's happening in the game. But negative props to everyone else for then just being like, well, he's not lying to me. Like, of course he is. He's lying to everyone. That was just like...
I think that's the takeaway.
He's like Dr. Will or Johnny Fairplay or Rob Sesser or something like that.
It amused me so much how he's like, yeah, I know I'm lying to everyone. And they're like, yeah, we know he's lying to everyone, but not me. Everyone had that collection.
That what he's doing it right, and it's a thing of beauty.
He's a gem.
Absolutely. Our next answer was most likely to have an idol, and this one had a little more mixed results, but the majority answer was Alex, with only one, at least publicly, only one vote for Bijan, which was Alex, who knows Bijan as the idol. Even Matt, who Bijan has told, he has told Matt, I have the idol, did not vote for Bijan. So so Bijan, there's a good line here where Bijan in confession, he's pissed that Alex put him down, but Bijan put Alex down. So like, who cares? Like, they put each other down. So why is Bijan mad? I think that's funny. But how is it that Bijan is getting this played off of him, or how is it that Alex is getting the heat for this?
There's one of two ways. Either they're clueless, or it's, yeah, I know, but I don't want them to know that. And that's the latter is probably Matt's angle.
I think part of it is,
but for the others,
I think part of it is that a lot of people think the idol that Adj and Kira got a clue for, Adj went out with. Like those who aren't aware of Bijan's idol, at this point, Alex and Matt both know. So they think that idol's gone, and then they know that Alex is smart and he's quiet, so he wouldn't really tell them if he had it. Bijan doesn't stop talking, so you feel like he'd leak it out eventually. So I feel like they're just gauging that, and like if someone's gonna like be able to keep it to just themselves, it'd be Alex. So those who don't know, it makes sense for them to put him down.
Yeah, I thought it was definitely interesting of Alex to put down Bijan for it. I thought that was pretty funny. I guess like I think the point from Alex's point of view is to like try to not make too many enemies by putting down Bijan, like figuring like, oh, like my best ally in the game, like let me put down his name.
Alex did put Bijan. Matt didn't.
Oh, I meant like he put his name down because he figured he can like rekindle his relationship with Bijan.
That makes sense. Yeah.
That's kind of what I was figuring. Like, oh, he wouldn't be mad if I put his name down, kind of thing. But obviously he's not too happy. But maybe Alex figured like he didn't want to like make any more enemies, whatever.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think it lends a little of both. I think Matt kind of wanted to keep that info hidden, and then it's kind of more of a weapon that Matt can use as he brings it to Alex in this episode. Obviously, it doesn't really matter because Alex is the one person that already knows that, so it's not much of a weapon there. But I think we'll talk about that a little more later. Yeah, as for the other people, they put Alex, the people that are not in the dark, that are in the dark, I mean, and I think that maybe lends to how quiet Alex is. I think when you're a quieter player, people equate that to you being sneaky sometimes, and I think that lends itself to those types of questions. At least from my perspective, that's who I would put, is the sneaky, quiet person. Maybe they have an idol, and they're the type of person that wouldn't tell anyone.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
So the next question is least deserving to be in the game, and this one, there's a lot of Carolina and Barrett votes, and the majority pops up as Carolina. Even Carolina throws herself in this. And what do you think of this type of question? Is this a question that completely changes your perspective of the game? CJ specifically, as someone, I believe Erica got this in your guys' season, because I think this was the round she went out, was majority of rules round. And obviously it didn't really seem to change your guys' perspective because you guys voted her out immediately instead of like keeping her around. But do you think this is something that people are more likely to keep Carolina around because she's like visibly, from the type of challenge like this, someone who's easier to beat? Or do you think it's the opposite, and we might see it sort of like this, like your season, where that person goes out sooner rather than later?
Well, Heidi made a good point and was like, she said like, oh, since Carolina is least deserving and everyone thinks she's not deserving, maybe that's a good person to bring to the final too. So maybe like Carolina like could kind of use this to her advantage and kind of just like, oh, if I'm perceived as a weak player, maybe people can just keep me around and like maybe play the argument like, oh, you can beat me at the end because I'm perceived as a weak player. So I think that's honestly the benefit, at least, of getting that.
Yeah, I mean, because the other person here was Barrett, and I think that I think that's why he's still in this round over Maddie, because I think that everyone was talking about in the conventional about how he was just this complete non-factor in the game. So, why not keep a non-factor in? Better that than someone who's threatening you.
I agree. I think Zubin's right as to why Barrett didn't become a target, because he was the second lowest on those rankings. But it also, there's after this episode, we're down to 6. It's a final 2. There's only one seat next to you. If you see yourself at the end, there's only one other seat. And if you're the biggest threat, you're not getting to the end. So, if you are like the second biggest threat, you don't want the biggest threat gone yet because your head's next. So it makes sense to maybe vote out Carolina and Barrett, which I think is probably what happened in CJ's season with Erica, something along those.
Yeah, Erica and Catherine, I would say, were maybe the two like least jury threats, at least visibly at that time. So they I think Raph kind of like conglomerated this. Not necessarily intentionally, but alliance of threats, and
Right.
that ended up. It made a good end game, I'd say.
It made a really fun end game, and I think it's a different approach we're seeing in season 2, where those threats do get their heads locked off rather than taking out the goats. But I don't want to necessarily call Carolina and Barrett goats. Barrett did win a challenge. Carolina's voted right every time except for this round. So she's done stuff. It's just a matter if maybe this lights a fire under her ass. So then she's like, hey, people are going to try and shuffle me towards the end. Then I got to beat them. So she starts lining up those moves.
Yeah, I think maybe she's done things right. Just she's done things right subtly.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's opportunity for a Barrett Carolina final 2 as these two people that are the lowest on the totem pole, or do you see that as a non-possibility the way the alliances are staggered right now?
Expect nothing. Yeah, anything can happen. I mean, think about all the ideas, about all the twists that have happened over the past 20 years that I've mentioned that have happened on Survivor, both on the producer side and on the contestant side. Barrett and Carolina are an open possibility so long as they're both in the game.
Yeah, I think Zubin's right. There's a lot of complex power structures involved with this and deciding who goes home next and who you can trust the most. And if you're the biggest threat at Final 3, that sucks because you have to win now. So it really is a balancing game of what threats you can bring towards the end with you and when do you have to get rid of them to make sure you're the one winning. So I think Barrett and Carolina could find their way to the end of it. I think one of them might end up being a threat and get knocked out earlier. It's a lot of stuff still to happen, even with only 6 people left.
I think it can definitely happen too, for sure. I mean, the way they're talking is like if Matt loses, they want to get rid of Matt, and Bijan's talking about how close Heidi and Alex are, so maybe he wants to try and split them up first. So Barrett and Carolina could easily find themselves towards the final 2.
Absolutely. So our next question, the challenge was biggest threat to win. Who do you think is biggest threat to win? This one hit the majority being Maddie. And I mean, I think Maddie, so from my perspective, I think Maddie absolutely was a threat in this game. I think this vote was good and effective, and we'll talk about that later. But I don't know how Bijan or Alex didn't get clocked with this, especially Bijan. Do you think this is a matter of like people who are friends or allies with them wanted to protect him, or do you think it's really just not that visible a game right now? What do you think is the intent with this?
Well, how many votes did Bijan get? Do you know how many votes he got?
I think Heidi voted for him, and I think Maddie voted for him. I think that's it. I think Carolina voted for Maddie. I think Matt voted for Maddie. I think Alex voted for Maddie, and I think Barrett voted for Barrett. Barrett, ever the optimist.
Barrett does not have that healthy dose of self-awareness I was talking about.
No. But, good on him for
winner. But did anyone? But was Bijan even in the running, or?
Yeah, he had a couple.
Yeah, Bijan had a vote or two, but I feel like, yeah, I don't know. What do you think it is that Maddie is getting the heat over Bijan?
I don't know. I think people are thinking biggest threat to win. I guess they're factoring in the fact that people aren't going to be there anymore, that it's going to be smaller. If you were asking them if it ends today, who wins, people would probably say Bijan, but biggest threat to win means you still have to make it to the end. And maybe people are recognizing hey, I can't actually bring Bijan to the end. So they don't think he'll make it because they're eventually people will turn on him or something like that. But Maddie, everyone likes Maddie. So maybe Maddie gets to the end and is a big threat.
Right.
One thing I found interesting was that Maddie didn't get any votes for the idol question, and because you were kind of saying how it was the opposite way, Bijan didn't really get any votes for biggest threat, but he got some votes for the idol, and same thing with Alex. So I just found it interesting that Maddie didn't get any things with the idol. Maybe that just means that people don't perceive her as necessarily sneaky, but just an obvious big target, but I just found that pretty interesting.
Everyone likes Maddie.
Yeah, I think it's more of like a friendly and like challenge person rather than this like big like strategic person that will navigate their way to the end and claim a lot of votes that way. But I think this is definitely maybe
Yeah, and I was also thinking
more social game
there's
in that
one that
regard.
people are
and-
thinking, hey,
Can't hear you, Zubin.
Yeah,
if
sorry,
they're also
using my
thinking
phone.
Bijan's my boy, maybe they may think of him as a threat because I guess maybe he's disarming them a little bit or something like that. I don't
Everybody
know.
loves Zubin too.
Absolutely. All right, and our next guest for the night is here, so I'd like to add them in. So without further ado, let's talk to Boston Robbie.
Yay.
Boston Rob Jr. Robbie, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing great this evening.
Yeah, doing well. Thanks for coming on.
Haircut's looking
No-
sharp, Ryan.
What's that?
Haircut's
The
looking
hair?
sharp.
Yeah, I had quite the mane going on a bit ago. I finally got a haircut. It's feeling a lot better. I mean the COVID haircuts do not happen as regularly. I've had 2 since this all started, and I
Yeah.
probably need 1 more in between. So
I went
nice
about
going
6
out.
months after COVID started before I cut my hair, so I was with you. But recently, I've been doing it more often.
Yeah. Hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully, by the time the next one runs around, it won't be as big a deal. Maybe February, March time. But Robbie, I just wanted to talk with you. Obviously, you were a big character in the season. It was great to have you. I just want to ask, how was this experience for you as a whole? And I didn't get to say this beforehand, but don't talk about anything past the Maddie boot tonight. I didn't think that you would, but
Okay,
just
yeah.
as a heads up.
To be honest, UConn Survivor was like a dream come true for me. It was kind of a newfound obsession when I played on my season. I hadn't really ever watched Survivor as a kid, and then one of my roommates really loved it, and every week they would watch the episodes, have a beer, and pretty much close the door. If you didn't want to watch Survivor and actually watch Survivor, you weren't able to hang out with them. So I was like, I guess I'll just start watching Survivor. So I started watching when Ghost Dawn came out, and initially really, really liked Wendell and Dom, and like was obsessed with the rest of the season. And after that season finished, I watched a little bit here and there when the next season came out, David versus Goliath, and then I heard you guys had started the Survivor Club, and that made me think. Like I thought it was a cool idea, and it made me like really invested in Survivor. So the winter break before I played, I binge watched like 15 seasons in like 6 weeks or something like that. So I was definitely obsessed with it. I've since finished all the seasons, but it was definitely a dream come true, which is probably why I overplayed so much I just wanted to do everything I'd ever dreamed of doing in my UConn Survivor.
I think it completely was an addiction thing for you. Your brain's like, I need this much Survivor at all times to just feel normal.
I still haven't kicked that addiction. It's like having no Survivor during quarantine has been a tough thing to get through. But luckily, we had our little second chance season, which was fun. And from what I'm hearing, they might be doing 3 seasons in 2021 to make up for it. So
my audition tape for that.
I gotta get my audition tape in for that too.
All right, see Zubin and Robbie on Real Survivor. We would love that.
Underground UConn Alliance.
Oh
Absolutely. Robbie, a big point in your game was the fake idols for you. Obviously, you find the idol. I think it was episode 2. And then you end up making a fake idol, which gets pretty quickly found by your best ally, Kira. So, do you think the fake idols were a mistake? Do you think there was a different way you could have utilized them? Do you think the one you planned on Shane was good and effective, or do you think you could have done that one differently? What was your experience? What do you think of your experience with the fake idols watching it back now?
Yeah, fake idols was one of those things that I'd seen a couple people do, like Ty do successfully on Survivor, and I had really wanted to do that in my Survivor experience. So I got a little bit overexcited when it came to that. The Kira one, I was like, coming into the first challenge, I had told you guys, I told my girlfriend, I was like, I'm going to lay low in this game until post-merge. Not going to make it myself a target. And then all of a sudden I get there and I find, like, I'm a very competitive person, and then I hear there's like an immunity clue, like idol clue on the line in this challenge. And when we got to that last like round where the clue was on the line, I was like, I got to get that clue. Like, I can't let that other team get the clue. And my competitive nature just took over, and I went way too hard. And then when we kept on winning and kept on getting clues, I knew people were like, oh, somebody's got to have that idol. And even the people, I didn't find the idol like immediately, but eventually people on, even on my tribe were like getting suspicious, like maybe somebody has the idol. Like, and in my head, I was like, oh, they're saying this to me, but behind my back, they're probably thinking, oh, Robbie's got the idol for sure, which I did. So I was like focused on trying to solidify an alliance with Kira, I guess, by, or at least take suspicion off of me having the idol by like her finding the idol. Obviously could have backfired horribly, like in any other like range of scenarios where that idol gets played, my alliance with Kira is destroyed. I think that was a bad move. I probably just should have acted dumb, pretended I knew nothing about the idol, but there was so much talk about me already having the idol. Like, I don't think it would have been effective if I just said, yeah, no, I don't have it. I don't know who has it. So I could have just told Kira, I guess I had the idol, which maybe I should have done. And when it came to Shane, there was a lot of backstory to that didn't get like edited in. There was a lot of trash talking about our tribe coming in from Shane, and we had pretty much for both of us, I think it was like a worst case scenario to be merged on the same tribe, because I knew I was already a target. I was like, oh, what if he works with Matt or like Hope or Barrett, like, because my number one ally Kira was all of a sudden off the tribe. So I was like getting paranoid that he would, because he's a very likable, personable person. I was worried that he would kind of work his way in with Heidi, Matt, and maybe one of my allies and try to get people to vote me out. So the thinking behind the Shane fake idol was, if he has an idol, he might work a little bit less hard to try and turn everyone against me. So I planted the idol and just hope that he would feel a little bit more comfortable and not try and cause too much drama, because he had caused a lot of drama in the initial like tribes, just trash talking Moynihan and saying we're going to turn on each other. And I was like, oh, now he's on our tribe, maybe we will turn on each other. I just didn't want that to happen.
I love how your plan to stop drama was to then introduce more drama for the late game.
Yeah, well, sometimes when you're you're the target, more drama can help make you not the target. But
Eric has a question in the comments. He says, did it ever cross your mind to make another fake idol, keep the fake idol train rolling? I think he means like the round you went out. Did you ever think to make one then?
Yeah, it crossed my mind, but I had when I played my idol and the vote Kira went out, I like told Kira and I told some of my allies that the idol I found was actually the idol Bijan had.
So the Adge.
Yeah, I told because I did a lot of searching for that idol too. Bijan was just a little faster. So I told, well, probably a lot faster to be honest, but I told my allies that I had found, because I had to come up with a reason as to how I just magically had this idol. So I told them the idol I found was Bijan's idol. So if I played that, like I just didn't really know where I could have said that third idol would have come from, I guess. So I didn't really feel that was like a good scenario. I suppose I could have done that as like a last ditch effort. I was just kind of relying on the fact that I knew eventually Alex and Bijan were going to have to make a move on Heidi, Maddie, and Carolina, and because they were a tight three, and I was hoping that move would happen while I was still in the game. I was hoping maybe the fact that I have extra votes for the next 4 rounds might play a factor, but in terms of wanting to keep a shield around, because somebody like Bijan, the game he's playing is going to develop a big target. He's going to want other targets around, and it wasn't an appealing enough option to them just because I was such a big target from the first challenge.
Yeah, I think we see tonight in this episode, obviously that flip finally happens. I think he just barely missed out on that one, but yeah, I agree. I don't think the fake idol would have really helped you. I don't think anyone would have believed you, because everyone knew you'd planned the Shane one at least. So yeah,
I'm happy though from what I saw that Kiwan's fake idol at least had some people thinking maybe that was real. That one was the first one I made, so that had my prime beads from the bag that I got at Michael. I got this bag of beads from Michael's, and I had the best beads on this first because I didn't plan on making 2, 3, whatever fake idols. I just was going to make the one fake idol, but then it happened to be my ally who found it, and it had the better beads. So I was like, the Shane one was kind of a piece of shit that I threw together with the remaining beads. But the first one I thought came out better. I'm glad it made Bijan at least think twice, but obviously they stayed strong with their group.
I'm glad it made Bijan think twice, because by then he had the actual one and knew what it was supposed to.
Right, and that's the only reason I can make mine convincing is because I had an actual one.
Right.
I was never going to make a fake idol before I knew what the real idols were supposed to look like. Same thing with Second Chance. Once I knew what the idol looked like, I was like, oh, now I can maybe make a look-alike for the fake, but I wasn't going to just throw a shot in the dark and see if I can get one that looked believable.
Right.
All right. Another question. Pete wants to know after your binge watch, and I think you've seen plenty more seasons since then. Whose game do you think you ended up matching most in your game? I know you tried to emulate Boston Rob, but I don't know if you would call that exactly a Boston Rob.
I think well, when I went in, I wrote about wanting to play this Jeremy or Wendell type game. And obviously that was out the window right away. So I was like, I have to play a different sort of game. And I think there were some similarities to Boston Rob, and just that I did have a really tight alliance for a lot of the games.
That's true. I should give you that. Yeah.
Then one stupid move. Now there was an accumulation of stupid moves, but my game could have been saved if I'd played my idol better. And that is kind of a similar move to Tyson voting himself out in Heroes versus Villains and screwing Rob's alliance. Me playing my idol on me instead of Kira was a stupid move that screwed my entire alliance. So I think that there's similarities there, but I think, I mean, I've grilled Ryan and Ethan about this more than anybody. I was like, oh, so I played Survivor with you guys twice now. Who am I most like? I don't know. I think there are similarities to maybe Dom from Ghost Island, because obviously he played a better game than me, but I did have a title, a title alliance with one person in particular, and I was kind of a recurring target going through the entire season. I had some relationships that were very butting heads, like he did with Chris Noble. I think it was Chris Noble. But so I think there's similarities there too. No. But I don't know, maybe you guys can answer this finally after now I've played with you guys twice.
Yeah, I think the more I think about the Boston Rob comparison isn't as bad. I think the way Boston Rob and you played in this game specifically was you ran a tight ship with a tight alliance. And the problem with the type of game is the second that game blows up, you are in a tough spot. And I think we see that on the show. The 2 times Rob went pre-merge in Heroes vs. Villains and Winners at War, you see Rob, as soon as he loses control, it's just kind of over. And I think we saw the same thing happen to you, where the second you lost control after the Kira vote, it was a pretty tough spot without immunity.
Yeah. If I had a whole bunch of what ifs going on after I got voted out. Like, what if I'd reached out to Alex earlier, or what if I'd reached out to Maddie or something instead of just going against her the whole time. But really, I think once I misplayed my idol, there was no way for me to get to the end unless I just won all the challenges. And part of winning one of the challenges was giving up my chance to win the next challenge. So I didn't really have a path after that.
Andrea wants to ask, why did you think you could trust Alex, Robbie?
Alex, I mean, Alex and I didn't talk at all pre-merge really. And then he reached out to me and asked if we could talk a little bit of strategy. And I was hesitant at first, but I had heard a lot about Alex through other people. Primarily, I knew that he was left out of the first vote when he and Sawyer went to target Shane, and Shane, Maddie, and Heidi targeted Sawyer. So I was like, he's already had Maddie and Heidi go at him, or something like indirectly go at him. So I was like, he might not feel that comfortable going deep with them into the game after he was initially on the outs with them. And then secondarily, I heard through like the grapevine that when Kiwan was voted out, Alex told Kiwan to play his idol, which, as he planned, indicated to me that maybe he wasn't really with those guys on the other tribe. Maybe he was looking for a way out, and that way out could have potentially been working with Moynihan, because Moynihan was a tight alliance, and he maybe felt at the bottom of that alliance, and I was hoping he'd want to come over to the group with the strong numbers. But I understand him from that point of view would feel at the bottom of that group with the strong numbers anyways. So I just thought he was our best option at that point.
All right, last main question. Robbie, why was the red team so dominant? Was it all you?
No, it wasn't all me. I think we had a really well-balanced team. Like you saw when we did the trivia challenge, Barrett destroyed the sports category. Kiwan did really well at the school, like the random like school types of questions. We had really good teamwork and planning at a lot of the challenges, like the blindfolded challenge where we had the puzzles. I think there was really good teamwork there, and really good teamwork with the math puzzle at the end. And I mean, the food challenge, there's no competition. I only went once there, but we destroyed them. That was a fun one. And then we just had an athletic team, I think, on the one where we were running around the loop with the bags of jugs of water. We just had a really well-balanced team that complemented each other, I think.
Yeah, I think the running one too, you guys dropping out a person early, even though I disagree, you should have not dropped Heidi.
Yeah, no.
I think dropping out one person was a big help to you guys, whereas the other team should have done that a little earlier, because one person can slow a whole team down. And I think obviously when a few people drop out, that weight of the water really sets in. But I think it's maybe worth the redistribution.
Yeah, we had some thought like went in my mind about like, oh, do we throw this challenge again? Because we have another person who like threatens the Moynihan tribe potentially, and we could help save Kiwan. But I think if we had thrown that challenge and voted out Heidi, then I think Kiwan would have gone out at the first tribal that Tarasi went to instead of Adj, just because at that point it would have been either they get rid of Kiwan to finally take a shot at Moynihan, or they get rid of Adj just because they think she's a threat to the game in general. But realistically, they need that number if we went into the merge with all of our original Moynihan. So I don't think that would have worked out. I do think it was a big risk to not drop somebody other than Heidi, but Heidi had said that she wasn't a strong runner. So we were all like fine with her dropping out, hoping we could end the challenge fast.
Absolutely. I think that's my main stuff for Robbie. We got a lot in there because of the chat and stuff. But yeah, if you guys have any other closing thoughts for him, but we love hearing from you, Robbie, and you coming on. And I think definitely the people that watched this season really enjoyed you.
Thank you guys. It was a pleasure. I'm glad I got to.
Robbie, you were one of our best characters. When me and Ryan met with our editor to storyboard the start of the season, we were like, character number 1, Robbie, villain. And just like, it's like he is involved in almost everything. He agitates people, and other people love him, and it will be excellent on film. And you delivered, and I love the product that we get to show of you, because I had so much fun having you be a part of it all. And I'm very glad you got to be.
Yeah, I remember when I finished the season and you guys told me I was the villain. I was like, what? Like, no way. I couldn't believe it. But obviously, I don't see the confessionals that go on behind the scenes. And obviously, Heidi was mad at me from the Shane vote. Shane and I never played together, although we've since talked and resolved our differences and made up. And I think like he and I would actually be like good friends if we met in a non-competitive scenario.
Absolutely.
And I have a great relationship with Bijan and Alex now. Alex and I have played really, really well together in Second Chance.
Oh, we're not talking about other games, Robbie.
But and then, like I said, I had a good relationship with my tribe, but I definitely just rubbed people the wrong way from the beginning. So I was the villain for sure.
Absolutely.
A
good one. Absolutely. Robbie, feel free to stick around if you want. But otherwise, you're free to go. We're just going to chat about the rest of the episode. But as always, thank you for coming on and being a part of the season. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for coming on, Robbie. Great to talk.
All right, that was Boston Robbie. Great to hear from him. So we're a little behind because that took a while. So we'll speed through the end of this challenge. But biggest threat to win, we talked about Maddie. Dark horse to win, Alex. I think the main thing to take away from that was Bijan's like, I don't know if I want to take Alex deep anymore, which is development, because before they seemed like a lock to be close to each other as long as they could. And most likely be voted out next. Matt, a lot of Matt and Maddie's, which, I mean, considering Matt won immunity and Maddie was voted out, makes a lot of sense. And then I guess the last one I want to talk about is who thinks they're running the game. We get Maddie. And you'd think it would be Bijan or Alex again for this one. But I guess this is the type of challenge where people just throw a target on who they want to like it's not necessarily the truth, it's just who they want to throw a target on, at least from my perspective. And it's not like Maddie's playing a bad game, but I think it's a very visible and easy one to put on her.
Well, it's also who thinks they're running the game, not who do you think is running it. So maybe they thought that Maddie believed that she was in charge of the game, even though we see that the agency's more in Bijan's hands.
Yeah, it's maybe more of a confidence.
The syntax maybe got him because Bijan is running the game thus far.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ryan. Though I think they just threw like whoever like they wanted to target on. I think they just kind of said, "Oh, we'll just say this person and hope that people are like, oh man, maybe they are."
Yeah, when it rains, it storms for Maddie. She's the queen of getting voted for this season.
So obviously Matt ends up winning this challenge, and this is a big win for Matt. Do you think Matt would have absolutely gone home in this scenario, or do you think they would have still gathered the same votes? Do you think Bijan would have used the idol on Matt? I mean, obviously those are all hypotheticals now, but how necessary was this a win for Matt?
I think it's kind of necessary because I don't actually think Bijan would play his idol on Matt. Bijan loves himself too much to give an idol to anyone else. And I think Matt probably was in trouble. I think it was a great time to flip. I think this move was perfectly timed for the people in the game who voted on the right side. I think this was the move to make. But I think they might have missed it if Matt was vulnerable. I think they might have just gone after him, unfortunately. So I think it was a huge win for him.
Ethan, I thought like the same thing. Like I was thinking like, oh, well, it's a great time in the game to make a move like this. But like, I also think like if Matt doesn't win immunity, then I think Bijan's just gonna try and push. Probably, I would think Bijan would push to get Matt out so that he doesn't have to use his idol on him, like we were saying. Because I don't think there's any way he uses it on him. So I think he just pushed to get him out to avoid the blood.
Right. I think it's a move missed if Matt doesn't win.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
He
the
doesn't
dominoes
bounce
fell.
back from losing Matt. He can't bounce back from losing himself.
Yeah, I think we see a lot of Matt's Red Tribe Moynihan allies on the jury now. I think we've seen that Matt's capable in challenges. I mean, two not necessarily typical challenges with the touchy subjects and the penalty box. They're kind of like social-esque challenges, but still challenges, and he wins pretty definingly in this one. He was like 2 or 3 ahead, and it just got won by default. And yeah, and I think I think in the outro, I think Heidi says like Matt is dead if he doesn't win. Is that in the outro or is that in the episode?
I think it's an outro.
Yeah, that was
So he's in a tough spot, and we'll have to see if he will need immunity or if he's going to be cut the second he doesn't have it. I mean, obviously we've talked about in the past that those penalty votes, he can kind of utilize those as like, hey, you can get me any other day. But as we get further and further to the end, that's less useful of an argument, I think.
because every other day is running out. You got to go for it.
It's starting to get a little close now.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And each penalty vote's worth more now.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
So post challenge, there's a little chat between Alex and Heidi, and they're kind of talking about like the connection they've formed in like strategically and socially throughout the game. And Bijan calls it a showmance. Is it a showmance? What's going on there?
No. No, I don't think either of them would have described that in the moment. I don't think I would describe it as that, but I think it's amusing that Bijan would throw that label on it. Every good season has one, so this is it by all means.
I love how mad he gets at it. He's like, man, she's gonna cut him so fast. And like, he gets so mad about it. It's so funny. I love the whole confessional there. It was great.
Yeah, I think it's not a showmance. I think it is a strong strategic connection that is becoming more and more visible. That like, hey, this is maybe Alex isn't my number one buddy here. Even though I think he still is the most loyal to Bijan from what we've seen. But yeah, always something to keep in mind. And Bijan is always picking up on the strategic cues in this game. So for this vote, we have Heidi, Caroline, and Maddie. They're all like, yeah, we just kind of want to continue this pagonging. Make Ryan hate the strategic structure this season, but I mean, ultimately, I think it is the right move for them. Obviously, the way they're positioned, but and then Matt and Bear, obviously, they've been up shit creek with the way their numbers have gone, and once again, Bijan and Alex, they are your swing votes, so they're in the middle. And they recognize this as the round to switch things up. It seems like Alex on board, but Bijan's really on the fence. He's like, Maddie's a threat because of her challenge skill and how likable she is, but it's hard for him to do it. She's a close ally to him. Do you guys think this was the right move here and now for Alex and Bijan?
I do. Because I think if they go after Barrett, then those 3 girls aren't going to split up, and now Matt has the advantage of like going to them and leaving Alex and Bijan out of the vote. So I think in order for them to maintain the power structure they want, I think it was the right move for them. It does suck though because Matt, the Third Eye Alliance is probably our oldest alliance in the game. So for it to finally turn on itself here, no one wants to vote out their friend. Because they've been talking for months. Again, this game, it's not 39 days. These people have been here for 2.5 months talking to each other every day. So it's not easy to vote out your friend, but I think he did the right thing.
there's also the fact that I think, as they stated, I think Barrett seemed to be that big non-factor. So, maybe it wasn't as good of an idea to take out the non-factor now. Go for the big threat. Go for the big threat now. And go for the non-factor later.
I think it was definitely a really good move for Alex. I think specifically because of how close Heidi is with two girls. So like maybe now that he's got his new relationship with Heidi, he can pull Heidi in a little closer. And Bijan, like we said, was working with Maddie and Carolina, and Bijan almost didn't vote to get rid of Maddie. So I think it's especially a really good move for Alex.
Yeah, I agree. And then we got a scene with Matt and Alex, and Matt and Alex are talking about long-term taking out Bijan. They're like, he'll sweep the jury vote, and I think this is the first time all game we see like Bijan like being brought up as a potential vote. And Matt tells Alex that Bijan has the idol, which like I think in most situations, good play for Matt. Maybe get that information out there, make him a threat. Problem is, Alex already knows and is involved with Bijan as his close guy. So, but and then Matt brings up Matt, as in the episode title, he made a lot of promises this week. He brings up a Barrett, Alex, Matt final three, which is interesting. Do you think this is a good opportunity for Alex, this final three? Do you think this is just something he can leverage? Do you think this Alex Matt connection will be important? What do you guys think?
So long as no one else finds out, yeah. I mean, he's got his hand. The more pies he has his fingers in, the better. And besides, I think Matt made a good move. It was just to the wrong person. It's one of those things where it was a good idea. It was just based off the information he had. But there's this extra piece of the puzzle that clicked.
Well, I think I don't think the Matt, Barrett, Alex final three really works for Alex too well, just because Matt and Barrett are kind of paired up. So like, just because of where they were before. So like, I kind of think I don't really like it for Alex specifically. So I think maybe Matt should have pitched it like, oh well, you could bring someone you're close to, like me, you, and one other person. Like I don't care who it is, but someone else. That it looks a little bit more promising for Alex, but. I don't mind the move of like trying to like target Bijan. Like I thought that's what he was gonna do during touchy subjects, but he didn't seem to do that.
I think any final three that someone else means, where my name is a part of that final three, is the perfect final three. So if someone came to me and said, I think I want to go to the end with you, I'd say abso-fucking-lutely. I want those options open, and I think Alex has to feel good about it, even if it's maybe not the ideal people for him to bring. The fact that people are saying, hey, I don't really want to vote you out. I want to get you to the end because I think we have a reason to do that together. Awesome. If people aren't going to write my name down, that's a great game for me to play. So for Alex, I think it's a great thing. I think Alex being the dark horse candidate, maybe Matt doesn't want to actually bring it, but we'll see what happens. They're both around at final six, and like I said, game is far from over. There's 4 more votes before they get to the end. It's crazy.
Yeah. So last thing before tribal, Bijan's saying he'd prefer Heidi out over Maddie because of the friendship Alex and Heidi has. Alex being his number one ally. He thinks she's smart. She's a good player. She's good in challenges, which or maybe he said she will be good in challenges. I don't really know where he got that. She hasn't really done much in challenges so far, but he prefers Heidi out. Do you think Heidi would have been a better target this week instead of Maddie, or do you think that group of 4 made the right choice?
That's where I think it diverges. For Bijan, maybe he thinks Heidi's the best vote for him, but he's not the whole group of 4, so he has to take their input in as well. And I think the other 3 were thinking we're thinking Maddie. So you can try and steamroll it, but I don't think that's the right thing to do. So going after Maddie ends up being the right thing for that group of four, and inherently because Bijan's a part of that group of four for him as well.
Yeah,
I think for Bijan, I think Heidi was a better move for him, just because obviously Maddie is a huge threat and everyone perceives her as that. And if you keep Maddie and Carolina in, then like maybe people will vote to split them up before they vote Bijan out. So like it's almost like keeping a bigger target, like in two ways, keeping a bigger target in the game over yourself. So I think for Bijan, Heidi was definitely the move. It's just I don't think that he he didn't really have the pull. Like Alex seemed really set on going for Maddie, so he didn't really have the pull to make the move, I don't think.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's the best move for him, but again, majority. It's a bit of a majority thing. It would have been essentially what, like 4-3-1, 4-3-2, or something like that. So, yeah,
There
he could
was
have
7 votes.
voted for Heidi. It wouldn't have done anything.
Right. No, he should.
Oh,
Yeah, he should not have voted out. It would have been if he had just voted Rogue. It would have been a 3-3-1, which is not a good tie that you want to force because then no one's happy with you.
Yeah.
So I think Bijan didn't make the move he wanted, but made the right move.
Yeah. So Bijan had to break the tie.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think Bijan is the only one that prefers Heidi to go out there of the four. I mean, obviously Alex has the better connection with Heidi, and then Barrett and Matt. I think this is a great vote for them because they need immunities, and Maddie's an immunity player, and so I think they only benefit from her not being involved in those challenges.
Yeah, Maddie being an immunity threat, like CJ was saying, reasons Bijan wants to keep her in. They'll split the pair before they go after him. They want to split the pair. That's why they're going after her. I think it was her time in a lot of people's heads, so they took the shot in that direction.
All right, and just to conclude things for this episode, we get to tribal. Bijan's at his confession was like, I don't even know who I'm going to vote for right now, which was he really not going to vote with Alex when Alex was? I don't really think so. That seemed a little dramatized, but it made for a thrilling conclusion. But yeah, obviously we see the pagonging of the Moynahans and we say goodbye to one of the rowing girls in Maddie. So we've talked about it already, but we don't have like an unbiased player person from the college survivor community to give us a perspective tonight. But how do you guys feel about the future of this season, these players, as we head into the last 2 episodes?
I know what's going to happen. I just don't know how it's going to happen, and that's going to be something I want to see.
Absolutely.
I think it's really interesting. I like the way the dynamic of this season is going because, I think there's a lot of different ways these votes could go. It seems like there's a lot of different options on the table, and it's not just one or the other. It seems like it's multiple options could happen, and I think that part's really interesting.
I agree. I think the game got very fluid with this vote and got very exciting. And in our little sneak peek at the end of the episode, we get a little tease of some life in a tribal. So we'll see what happens. Next episode, I'm not gonna lie, might be my favorite episode we produce of all of them. So I'm very excited for what's to come. I hope you guys are too, because as I said before, Bijan's in the lead. He's doing great. I'd love for him to win, but there's a lot of game left to play, and I'm excited for it to get played.
And it's getting to the wire.
And it's coming down to the wire.
I think what helps this scenario too is even though Barrett and Matt are these players on the outs, the fact that they're both viable immunity threats is great because it actually seems like, oh, we weren't just gonna we can't just pick off these guys whenever we want. It's you actually got to worry about them a bit because if they like get too close to the end, they can just win out, and it makes them a little more rootable as winner contenders, because like you're like, man, they have the potential to win key immunities when you want. Whereas like, I don't know, like say Bijan's if he was in the minority, I don't feel as confident in Bijan winning 3 challenges to beast his way to the end, as we've seen with stuff like the nuts performance, or struggling to eat gross food. But I mean, to be fair, I
The
wouldn't do
next
much better,
challenge
but
is definitely in his bag.
yeah, we haven't. Yeah, it's never a good sign for Bijan when the challenge comes up. But he could sneak one in. You never know. But yeah, I think we see in the preview for the next challenge, we got the strings that you're lifting your arm up as long as possible, holding the cup. So that'll be an exciting challenge to see, I'm sure. We'll look to see what the result of that is. I'm sure it'll be exciting. But I think that's all I have for the episode. Is there anything else we wanted to say before we drop out here? Otherwise, we'll do our conclusions.
I'm good. I had fun with this one. I love this episode.
Yeah, it was really.
This is a really good episode. I really enjoyed it a whole lot.
So that was the post show. Thank you guys for coming on. Ran 10 minutes over what I thought it would, but the interview with Robbie took a while, but it was a good one. I think it was one of our best. So
Robbie has a lot to say.
Robbie's thrilled to chat about things. So I know the end game of this, Pete says this season is electric, and it's only gonna get more electric as we wrap up here. It's finally ramping up after maybe a slow episode last week. Yeah,
it probably will be nuts, but I'm telling you, this next episode next week, I'm already buzzing. I think it's going to be my favorite, and I hope everyone else gets excited for it.
Absolutely. But yeah, I wanted to thank you guys for coming out to watch. Thank you everyone that always comments on the live show. I really appreciate that. It's always great for us to see. But we'll go around in a circle. Everyone can say goodbye. If you have anything brief to say, go for it. If not, that's okay too. We'll start with Zubin.
So end of another good show. And hopefully I will be seeing you all later.
All right.
Thanks, Zubin.
Thank you, Zubin. All right, CJ.
Look at us getting the full screen. It's been a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys stay tuned for the rest of the season. It's a good one, and hopefully I'll see you guys soon.
All right. Thank you, CJ. And Ethan, any new plugs this week?
Today's Giving Tuesday. I'll throw that one out there. I donated to a couple of my favorite charities today. Still got an hour and a half here on the East Coast. If you want to throw a branch out there, there's a lot of companies matching stuff and doing great stuff. But on top of that, for college students finishing up, keep going strong. A week or two left. We're all going to get through it, even if it sucks. And like I said, Survivor UConn, this next episode, absolute madness. Buckle up. I'm ready. And you guys will see me soon. So there's that.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think my plug for the week will just ride on top of hyping us up for next week. Next week's a great episode. I'm sure everyone that's watching this is keeping up, and we'll watch Survivor UConn next week. So you have that to look forward to, obviously. And a lot of great Survivor UConn to come as we conclude 2020 here. We have some good guests on next 2 weeks as well. I know we didn't have a college Survivor community guest on this week, but we already have them for the for next week in the finale. And there's some fun guests that you guys will probably be familiar with. So make sure to check for updates on that and future episodes on our social media. In the description, you can find all our social media, but there's our website in the description. Excuse me. Our Twitter at Survivor UConn, our Instagram at Survivor.UConn. Our Facebook page is type Google or type in Survivor UConn on Facebook. Those are all great places to check us out and keep up with updates, episode announcements, etc. And so, yes, absolutely. But other than that, thank you guys for watching. We will see you guys. We'll be live next week after the episode, same time, 9:15. And we'll see you guys then. Have a great night.
Good night. Goodbye.